consciousness. It wasn't like an aha moment where I was just like, oh, this argument finally done it. It was just like 1 minute before or 30 seconds before, God maybe exists, the idea of God exists, and then it was just like an absolute certainty that God exists, to the point where I remember that straight after this, I just had my head in my hands just saying, how could I be so stupid? Of course God exists. Like, how could I miss this? How could I miss this? And then I just had this voice in my head saying, pick up the Quran, pick up the Quran, pick up the Quran. And I read the Quran, I read Surah Al-Fatiha, the first 7 lines, and then started Surah Al-Baqarah. And I remember I'd read Surah Al-Baqarah, or the first few lines, maybe 2 or 3 times. And I remember reading that first line maybe 2 or 3 times. And I remember reading that first line. So this is the book, a guide for those mindful of God. And I had read it before without being properly mindful of God. And then when I just had this like realization that God absolutely exists, and I read that, I was just like, I found it. I was like, I know this is the truth. Like, I was so, 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 so happy. I was, and then I just read the Quran, and it was like every light bulb of like knowledge and wisdom was just exploding in my brain. And I just read it for like 6 or 7 hours. Like, this was at midnight, and I read it until like 6:30 in the morning. And it was like every single line was just making so much sense. And I had to be up. I remember vividly. I had to be up. Just there was something on the next day. I had to be up at 7 a.m. And I was very much, and it was about 6:30, and I was very much in the space where you need 8 hours of sleep. Like, you need 8 hours of sleep. If I didn't get my 7 or 8 hours, the whole day would be ruined. And I had like 16, 17 minutes sleep that day, and I did not yawn once. I was so alert. I was just on it. I didn't even feel tired, and I was just like, oh wow, this is it. And yeah, that was kind of. And then I took the Shahada with my local imam.